Hi, I'm Sandra Bradford Jennings. I'm the Development Director for Community Partners in Action. Today, we're talking about collaborating women and the work that we do that is specifically geared toward women in our alternative in the community programs. I have with us today three of our case managers, and I'm going to ask each one of them to introduce themselves. Ashley?
My name is Ashley Calise. I'm the gender responsive case manager at the Waterbury Alternative in the Community. I've been with CPA for 2 years now.
Okay. Bianca?
Hi, I'm Bianca Carr. I'm also the gender responsive case manager here at the Manchester Alternative in the Community, and I've been with CPA now for about 3.5 years.
Okay. And Janira?
Hello, I am Janira. I am also gender responsive case manager out of Hartford. I've been here for almost 3 years.
Very good, very good. So maybe we can start off by talking about what is an alternative in the community program. Janira, could you just kind of share what that is?
From our point of view, I believe alternative in the community programs are designed for as a resource for clients who are on probation or have court cases, is a new way and a different way to deal with being supervised. I think it's a way to build off of clients' strengths and less of a way to be punitive because clients are in the system.
Okay, very good. Now, all three of you all are trained in the collaborative case work for women model. Bianca, tell me a little bit about what that is.
Well, the collaborative casework model, it really prioritizes like change in clients and the justice involved clients. And the collaboration part comes from, first of all, the client themselves, their probation officer or whoever is supervising them, and us as their case manager. We can deal with a variety of different things. And the most important thing is that all three parties are on the same page and adding to the process of, collaborating with the client so that they can make the necessary changes so that they have the optimal success.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, Ashley, who qualifies to be in this program and why is those qualifications important?
At the alternative in the community, the qualifications is that they are on probation in the women offenders unit with probation. That's when they get referred to our program. They will go specifically to us instead of the other case managers because we focus with working in this model with these women.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain risk factors that these women tend to have that maybe some of the other women don't?
Absolutely, they should be high risk.
Yeah, the higher risk.
And that may include a variety of risk factors. So that may include trauma, a lack of relationships and connections, basic needs, safety concerns. Like the list can go on and on, but it like definitely focuses on more complex risk factors rather than one risk factor that we may be dealing with.
So, a lot of people involved with, the courts or have the criminal justice system have similar types of risk factors. So why is there a program specifically geared toward women with those risk factors?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm supposed to be calling out. Sorry.
It's okay. I think just based on research, I think the research has definitely told us that women have these specific pathways into the system that should be focused on. In the past, a lot of the research was kind of geared towards male offenders. And with the new research is telling us that we need to be focused more on the things that make women women, the things that separate them from the men. And a lot of times it has to do with a lot of trauma. We learned that women most of the time end up in the system due to some type of connection or relationship to another, whether it's family, whether they're doing things to support themselves and their family, their children, their parents. Sometimes they have the strained relationships with their families, which sometimes lead to abuse, or maybe they've been, in domestic violence relationships, or maybe they, have been exposed to drug use, substance, and may have developmental health problems. A lot of things we have learned. It has taught us that women and their connections is very important to pay attention to. And it tells us that we need to, in order to, like Bianca said, provide that assistance to optimal success, we have to pay attention to those things.
Okay.
Right.
She did
Right.
it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with everything you just said. And just to add to that, like, it's just been shown and proven that traditional ways of dealing with women, it doesn't work, or traditional ways of just dealing with someone involved in the justice system
Right.
does not work for women.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
that's why it's important to be, trauma informed and
Mhm.
have all those aspects and know what we're dealing with before we, engage these clients.
Mhm. Good. So Ashley, I know when we were talking about the description of the program, we talked about how it's the participant and the case manager being the three of you for your clients, and also the probation officer. How does that work, and are the women comfortable sitting down with a probation officer in this setting, or do you have to help get comfortable? Kind of talk to me about that process.
So at the Waterbury program, when we do our collaborative meetings with probation, we don't have our clients present. I don't know if you guys at the other offices do have our clients present, but they know from the beginning that we're going to be in contact with their probation officer, and every 2 weeks we have meetings with probation about the clients and about possible clients that they might have just done intakes with that they might send to us maybe right away or in the future. So we always have a line of communication with probation, so we're both on the same page with the client and what their goals are and how we both could help them accomplish those goals.
So they aren't necessarily meeting with the three of you. You all meet with the probation officers, and then you all meet separately with the women. Okay, gotcha. All right, that makes a lot of sense. Makes sense. So in addition to the collaborative work with women that you all do, what other services do the women have access to, both at the AIC, and are there also services that you refer them to in the community? Janira?
Yes, so the women have access to all the groups that we provide. So the Living Safely Without Violence group, it's that group is more designed for women who, I like to say, have strong emotions. I don't like to call them aggressive, but I do point out that they may have strong emotions, and may, become proprietors of violence. So it's more so for perpetrators. So the language says, I don't say, but so that group is for those women who have those type of challenges. And then we have the Moving On group for women who may need to work on maybe communication skills, being assertive. It talks about, the relationships they have with family, friends, and it kind of helps them to identify some of the challenges that they may have. And some of those women may be victims of domestic violence as well. So those two groups differ in how they provide the service as far as women being victims. And then at some point in time, a proprietor is a victim as well. But like I say, the language says, I don't say.
Mhm.
And then we have the employment group, which is the same, for men and women, but that is also available for women who don't have an extensive employment history and may not be able to keep a job for one reason or another, or even obtain employment. So that group helps them to identify, some of the soft skills that they may need to work on to get a job and to keep a job. And some of the programs I've referred my clients to, specifically the Interval House for domestic violence victims.
Mhm.
Also, Gifts of Love. It's out of Avon in Connecticut. They provide assistance with basic needs stuff. So they do a lot of like clothing, household items, baby items, supplies for, newborns and things like that. They also do like sometimes food baskets. They'll do them like monthly and things like that. Hartford Hospital has a program where they help with domestic violence victims as well. It's more of an emergency shelter type of thing. Sorry, somebody's calling. So yeah, Hartford Hospital, Gifts of Love, Hands on Hartford also has a good program for providing basic needs and housing resources for clients. I've used that in the past. Yeah, that's the ones I can think of off the top of my head. I know I've used more, but I can just think of those. I use those in MyOp is another one. That's a program for new mothers and infants, parenthood program, and they provide resources for parents and newborns and things like that as well.
Okay. So, Ashley, when you have, since this, this is National Mental Health Awareness Month, and so I know with these women, especially with these women being high risk, how do you work with them to also access treatment for any mental health issues that they may need? How does that in-house, or is that in the community, or how does that work, Ashley?
So we don't have mental health services at our program. We reach out to other agencies in our town. Usually we work with the probation officer to find like which one will be best for the client, especially if they've been somewhere before. Usually probation will put in that referral to a mental health provider, and we could also help them make the phone calls and help them set up intakes with them. And usually I make sure when they go to visit the mental health providers, they also sign a release of information for us at the program, so I can be in contact with them about their treatment as well, so we can all work together.
So Bianca, so I know that you all are trained you're trained in collaborative casework. Have you also done case management work with men as well?
Yes.
On a personal level, what is the biggest thing that you learned to be the difference between working with men and working with women?
Well, men, I believe, or from my experience, I've noticed that they're not as dependent on the community, whereas women, we rely on those connections, whether, like Janira said, whether it's family, our children, our people that support us, whether case managers, therapists, like women really rely on that and depend on those connections for their success. So that's what I feel like is the biggest difference. And that's why it's so important that we are able to tap into all those different resources to provide them with. Gotcha.
So collaborative casework, it's kind of like an additional interpretation, is just almost like connecting. That's part of that collaboration, is keeping the women connected, and that's an important part as well. So, right. I was wondering if any of you all maybe could share a story of maybe someone you've worked with using collaborative casework. What they may have come in that we were challenged with, and some of the things that they were able to address successfully. And if you all have a story you'd like to share.
Just one that kind of just sticks out at the top of my head is a client that I'm like still working with, and I have worked with throughout this pandemic. And I started working with her before the pandemic and worked with her throughout the pandemic and still after. So what I would say is her, again, relationships and connection to family. Like, family was a big thing that did not present itself at the forefront initially, but going through the pandemic, because she was not able to come in and kind of have those candid conversations, like, she had to let me know, like, listen, like, it's not the best that I'm doing it this way, like over the phone. I would really rather come in and kind of have these conversations with you because my relationships at home aren't the best. So once we were able to get her in through the pandemic, or a little bit after that, one of the big things that I addressed with her is possible seeking one-on-one therapy. Like, so that she can like build on those relationships even further and kind of figure out what it is, what's the underlying factors that kind of led to this strain on her relationship. And initially she was not for it. She was hoping to continue case management forever so that she could talk to me about it. But what I've worked with her step by step to kind of solidify a therapist for after she's done with case management to kind of continue to help her through it. And again, strengthen the relationship between her and her family. So that's something that really stuck out to me because again, when she came in, it was not something that I knew about. It was not something that was discussed. And through what was going on in the world, it kind of brought it to the forefront and it became our problem to solve. And it was just really nice to see her overcome that fear of talking to somebody else and wanting to engage in one-on-one therapy to kind of fix these problems so that, you know, she has more success later in life.
Very good. That's good to hear. That's
Nice.
good to hear. That's good to hear. Well, I don't have any additional questions. I appreciate you guys talking with me. I think we've gotten a lot of insight into the special needs for women in our alternative in the community programs and how the collaborative casework with women really helps to customize that approach. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you speaking with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.